World of Outlaws Dirt Racing 24 has just come out this week, and it features another blast across the United States of America in some of the coolest dirt ovals and some of the scariest cars that you can drive. I played so much of the previous game on the couch, and this week I've been playing a lot of the new game, so let's give it a review and see if it's worth playing. So the new World of Outlaws game is developed by Monster Games again. They are owned by iRacing, and you may remember them from developing a bunch of NASCAR games in the past. They are also responsible for the upcoming NASCAR 25 console game coming out next year. That new game will be featuring the Unreal Engine, which means this game is the last game to be on the Unity engine from Monster Games. Included in this year's game are a bunch of different sprint cars and late models and all sorts of things. The main one is the 410 sprint car. This is the main car that you drive. It is super difficult to drive, and it features a bunch of famous drivers from the World of Outlaws. You'll see a bunch of people that you will recognize, but missing this year are some names from the last game, like Brad Sweet, who has won a bunch of championships, and Australian James McFadden. There is like a breakaway rivals sprint car series happening in America right now. I'm not fully across it, but there's some drivers missing from this year's game, I've noticed. Also included are the 360 and 305 sprint cars, which are the same but like slower. And there's also the Super Late model, the Pro Late model, the Street Stock, the UMP modified, and the Big Block modified. Both those cars just look like funny late models, in my opinion. And new in this game is the 410 non-winged sprint car. It's like a full sprint car, but it has no wing on the top of it, so pretty scary. And also new is the Micro Sprint. This is like a little sprint car with a motorbike engine and a bunch of gears to play with. I'm not an expert. This might be similar to like Formula 500, which I think is raced in Australia. Maybe not. But these are pretty cute and pretty fun to drive if you're brand new to the game. The Midget is also included. It was included in last year's DLC if you picked it up. And in terms of tracks, it's got all the same tracks from the previous game, with Lernerville, Lincoln, and the Chili Bowl that got added in last year's DLC also returning. And new in this game are Kern and Millbridge. So in terms of gameplay and handling, this game is really difficult to just keep your car on the track, let alone to go fast. The cars get sideways really easy, and most of your job is like not crashing and just holding onto the thing and just trying to not crash into other cars and the wall. The main thing to think about on the dirt though is trying to keep your car as straight as possible. Sliding does look really cool, but it is actually kind of slow. You want to be carrying your momentum and keeping your car as straight as possible so you can put the power down to the ground. It is really hard to keep your car straight though, especially on restarts when you're putting the power down. Often the car will just go left and right and you'll just be banging off the walls and the other cars. My main advice for this is to just relax and be okay with crashing a little bit. This isn't iRacing. It's okay to have a bit of biffo with some other AI drivers. There is damage in this game that will affect your car, but like you have to crash pretty hard to get it. I hit like a truck tire at Kokomo Speedway to get damage, and at Eldora I had to flip my car like multiple times to give it damage. Each car drives a little bit differently, with most of the entry-level cars like the Street Stock car, for example, being really forgiving. The game has a natural difficulty curve. The slower cars are quite easy to drive, and the fast cars are really difficult to drive. You can also customize the setup of your car. You can go between full tight and full loose. New in this year's game is adjusting the wing position. You can do this mid-race. You can move the wing forwards or backwards to adjust the balance of your car. It's really difficult to drive in this game. And when you first get started, you'll be like, this is crazy. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm out of control, but I find it's really rewarding to get right. It takes a while. Eventually you'll find yourself bashing out the same lap time over and over again. I find often the trick is to hold like a really slight slide through the corner and not correct the slide. If you're playing on a controller, it's really tempting to be like giving lots of steering input all the time, like left, right, left, right, left, right. And my advice is to actually like not do that. If you're struggling a lot, there are driving aids in the game as well. This game is also wheel compatible. Another Overtake presenter, Mikkel, has been playing it on wheel. He's found it crazy difficult to play, so I'm interested to hear his thoughts. So that was a gameplay. In terms of graphics, I think this game looks better than the previous game. It looks more refined. The colors look brighter, they seem to pop a lot more, and it looks just nicer overall. I think my favorite thing in this game is the same as the previous game, the day to night transition over the course of a race night. You'll be like practicing in the daytime, and then the heats are in the sunset, and then the A main is right at the end of the night in the darkness. The heads up display and menus are a bit easier to navigate in this year's game. I think they look a little bit nicer as well. I do need to be honest, it's basically the same menu as the previous game, and also the previous game before that, Tony Stewart Dirt Racing, and also the same as NASCAR Heat before that as well. Like, the garage screen in this game is the same as like the last 6 games by Monster Games. So it's not new at all. I mean, it works, but I just need to tell you that. Another thing that was new in last year's DLC that I've not played around with yet are the tear-offs. Your screen gets all dirty as the race goes, and you have a limited amount of tear-offs to clear it. You have to manually do them. You can turn it off if you want. It is kind of cool. It is slightly annoying to remember. Anyone who's like watched my stream will know that like I'm really good at just automatically tuning out dirt on the screen, and I always forget to bind a tear-off button. So I'm forgetting to use tear-offs a lot in this game, but if you're into that, it's a cool new feature. A new mode in this year's game is the Outlaw Challenge mode. This is a bunch of challenges featuring Donny Shats. It's nice to have a bunch of different kind of races to play in, but it's honestly not too exciting. It's a bunch of little challenges for you to complete. But yeah, it's nice to be there. Career mode is the meat of this game, and I think it's actually pretty good. I think it has really good progression, but it's also basically the same as the previous game. So for starters, in this one, it's a little bit easier. I think the onboarding kind of process is nicer. You select either the midget or the micro sprint, and you create your team. You can customize your driver, your livery, your team name, etc. And then you get stuck into your local low-level racing with the aim of eventually making it to the full national championship of the World of Outlaws. You can select the season length for each season. I recommend not choosing a full regulation season just to like cut down on time. I picked the midget, and I was a little disappointed to not see that I was racing at the Chili Bowl in my first series as well, which kind of sucked, but I'm sure I'll get there later. Now, I entered my first race, and it started with hot laps and qualifying. Both sessions have a target lap time for you to hit, and you get skill points if you hit it. After that, you get placed in a heat race, where you place in the heat race determines where you go next. Now, if you're a little unfamiliar with dirt racing and the structure of a race night, after qualifying, you get placed in a heat race, and where you place in the heat race determines where you go next. The first few drivers go straight through to a dash, which is another race which determines the front few rows in the final, the A main. The rest of the drivers in your heat in the middle go straight through to the A main, and everyone at the back goes to the B main, or the last chance qualifier. If you're going through to the B main, you have one more shot to try and make the show, and in your first race, your car is woefully inadequate. I don't like the highest difficulty setting, to be honest, but I drove like around way off the pace, and I finished 40th overall, which was last, and I got knocked out straight away in the B main. It sucked. I felt terrible. Once you're back at the garage though, you can upgrade your car, you can upgrade certain parts, or you can buy new parts altogether. You also have the durability of your car to work with. It's a nice little mini game to play with. I upgraded my car a bunch before the next race at Kokomo, and I had a much better time. I raced and finished 30th. The third race of my season was at Eldora, and this was a showcase race, which means there's more drivers, there's an opportunity to pick up sponsors who will pay you more money throughout your career. I bought tyres before this race, and it turns out that was a terrible decision, because Eldora, I should have probably bought a new engine. So I did really terribly, and I got placed in the F main. I somehow thought my way through there and ended up in the E main before I got knocked out there. It was cool though. I got paid some money, and somebody bought a t-shirt. I made $10 in merch revenue. Yay. From there, you keep upgrading your car and racing until you eventually qualify for the A main, and it is worth it when you finally do qualify. It is the most freedom thing you will ever see, with the American flag waving against the night sky and one of a few versions of the national anthem being blasted out over the speakers. It actually really hypes you up before a race, especially once you make it to the 410 sprint cars, because you'll be doing a 4-wide salute. And some of the most famous words in racing will be yelled, you know, you wanted the best, you got them for abreast, something, something, something. It's very cool, it's very exciting. Career mode also has the option to hire some other staff members. Some of them will give you bonuses for repairing your car or for making money. I haven't actually got to it yet in this game, I'm still in my first season, but in the previous game you could hire a driver to race for you. I did many seasons in the previous game, and I found somebody called Merab Riley who had the best balance of stats and cost, and I would chuck him in my UMP modified and just get him to run races over and over again, and he would just print money for my race team. So it was like an infinite money hack. If you get the chance to do that in this game, and you can't be bothered driving, it's very funny to do this. You almost don't need to play the game and you can just make money. World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is for me the ultimate couch racing game. Need for Speed, The Crew, and like the new Test Drive are a bit too open worldy. WRC, F1, and ACC are like too serious. And playing Gran Turismo 7, I get really sweaty playing that game. But I just love playing World of Outlaws. Like, I can sit on the couch and just completely switch my brain off and like have a conversation with another human being at the same time as playing the game. It's intense enough to capture your attention, and wins mean a lot, but the races are also really short and they don't matter too much. If you crash, it's like, oh well. Some of my favorite moments playing this game are slide jobbing like 4 AI cars at the same time and like feeding one of them a wheel and just watching them just like cartwheel into the catch fence. It is so funny. I've had like my partner and I just like losing it in laughter on the couch. It's so fun to play. Outside iRacing, which simulates sprint car racing really well, World of Outlaws 24 is honestly the best speedway racing game ever. If you have not played one of these dirt racing games before, I highly recommend picking it up. I think it's super underrated and so fun to play for everyone, not just dirt oval fans. Even the F1 fans who are like, rah rah, turning left, easy, blah 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 blah. I think you'll really enjoy this. I think it's really fun. That being said, if you picked up Dirt Racing 22, and especially if you picked up the DLC, I don't think it's worth picking this up. It's essentially the same game as before, with a new coat of paint and 2 new tracks, 2 new cars, some updated liveries, and like an adjustable wing. Annual releases are really hard to do, and I think everyone has an opinion on them. Monster Games has done a good job at this, but I honestly don't know if it's worth paying full price for it. It's the same as what I say for the F1 game every year and the MotoGP game every year. For some people, it's worth splashing the money on, and for some people, it's not. It's for you to work that out. I'm going to enjoy playing it though. World of Outlaws Dirt Racing 24 is out now on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series consoles. Let us know in the comments if you're playing the game and if you're enjoying it, or if you're not a fan, maybe you played last year's game and it's too similar, let us know. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and you can go to Overtake and subscribe for more sim racing videos. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.